10,000 years ago, men may have squatted where we now sit. They may have looked out on the same world, but seen it differently, with a different sense of time and leisure. The land is truly ancient and alive. It shifts and groans beneath us. Like the town of Nicholson, what was once wilderness becomes settled and civilized. And what was once settled and civilized decays, and wilderness reclaims the land. All that remains of Nicholson today are fragments and pieces, an imprint on the land of what was. Remains of the past are all around us. This pine may have been chopped down over 100 years ago. At the time, it may have been 150 or 200 years old. So when you look at this decaying stump, you may be staring at 300 years of history. As Emerson wrote, "Nothing is rich but the inexhaustible wealth of nature. She shows us only surfaces, but she is 1,000,000 fathoms deep." Beneath this boat in Fathom 5 Provincial Park lie dozens of shipwrecks. Schooners, steam tugs, side-wheelers, barks, brigantines, fore and afters, three and afters. A century of ruins from the days when the Bruce Peninsula was the Cape Horn of the Great Lakes. Today, passengers are dieseled from Tobermory to Manitoulin, the place the Ojibwe called the Island of the Gods. In other days, other Chachimans, or big canoes, traveled Canada's trans-water highways. The voyageurs. These rugged journeymen camped the water's edge between Montreal and the Athabasca. But they were not the first people to camp on these shores, not by a long shot. As far down as one digs, one finds remains from native settlements. Historical strata unearthed at the mouth of the Agawa River show this revolver dating from the late 19th century, and below that, this flake knife from around 5000 BC. The land absorbs them all like a sponge and stores them in layers, the oldest usually at the bottom and furthest from the shoreline. All of these fragments tell a story about a people who left few, if any, written records. The study of these remains is known as archaeology, and it is much more than just arrowheads and broken pottery.
And, I don't know, you just hear things sometimes. Elizabeth, sometimes she hears music.
Archaeologists are like detectives, sifting through layers of earth, looking for evidence of the past. Every square must be mapped, numbered, and cataloged, since artifacts are mainly understandable in relation to their surroundings.
Like right here, I'm getting a whole bunch of chips from a quartz tool, and you could practically see him knocking the chips off and letting them fall there, and you're just sort of picking up after him. I don't know, you can feel it, but some of it could be, stuff that's been left in the ground and just disintegrated. And I don't know what it is, and I just have to sort of keep on going through it.
For instance, seeing an arrowhead out of context would be like trying to reconstruct a chicken from a wishbone.
People nowadays come and they just camp here because it's a good place. Like you can walk in and go, well, this is it, this is the area. It's a natural clearing. It's used by everybody, and I don't see why the Indians wouldn't have used it too. Makes sense.
The trouble with archaeology, for the most part, is not dealing with visible resources. The tangible remains of human behavior have decayed so much, all we are left with are bits of stone, pottery, and metals.
The music is from somewhere else. There's a beat to it, but it's really hard to identify any melody or anything like that. It's just some kind of rhythm, something really far away. You can't, if you listen for it, it goes. I don't know. You do hear it, though, sometimes.
And because of Canada's climatic conditions, we have only a certain number of months when we can excavate outside. So we have to squeeze as much into each summer as we can.
Indian stuff is a lot different, though, because, you actually find something that someone made so many years ago. It's like finding a piece of pottery with a fingerprint on it. It's like finding part of the person himself. more than just what he made. You're finding his fingerprint, or the design, which is something out of his head. It's really fascinating that way. Excitement, glamour, adventure, all those things. That's about all.
A normal working day would be from breakfast to supper time, doing field survey and systematic excavating.
Usually when I'm starting
Then working
this work,
after
more than
supper until
anything
your
else,
eyes start to give out,
you sort of have a
labeling
feeling,
specimens
you know,
and
this is gonna be a
organizing
good
the
one,
information
this
you
is
have
gonna be
dug
a
up
bad one.
during the day.
Well, sometimes you get
it
lucky
pays off. A lot of
and
times
just
it pays
feel
off.
an affinity with an object.
You just sort of
It is
sit on
very
the ground.
inspiring.
You feel, no, there's nothing under here. Why am I sitting
Archaeology
here? Why
puts
am I doing
us
this?
and our
Other
society
times
in
you
perspective.
just know, oh, hey, this is a good one.
It reminds
The
us
last
that we are
row I
only
just did,
one
oh, that was a
generation
good
of
one.
people
The
who
one
have
in the middle I
settled
know is a good one.
in what we call
This one-
Ontario.
Sort of. This one's going to have maybe the trail ends of those two. But yeah, vibrations definitely. There are certain feelings you get about this.
It also reminds us of our debt to the Indian peoples. Not only did European traders find a system of trade routes already established that they could just plug right into, but all across Ontario, we inherited a landscape already named.
Kakabaka Falls, the term has always been, to the native people, Kakapika Falls, meaning the rock is in layers, and from time to time the erosion of the water on it tumbles the rock down. The fact that the rock is in slabs is the reason why it's called Kakapika.
These Indian peoples who lived in Ontario were far from primitive. In fact, it is our view of them that is primitive.
I've always heard white people say if they see an Indian kneeling down, maybe looking at the sun as it is setting, he is a sun worshipper. He has not been a sun worshipper, but there is something beyond the sun that activates the sun.
The Canadian Indians lived a more cohesive and structured life than we may have imagined. For instance, 500 years ago, the Hurons' winter villages consisted of longhouses 250 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 30 feet high. We also have evidence that the Indians mined copper and iron and processed ochre into paint for their pictographs and cosmetics. The Indian pictographs, like the Egyptian hieroglyphics, form a pictorial language. Pictographs are painted on the rock, whereas petroglyphs are chiseled into the rock. Some may have been information markers, and some were teaching stones.
They were hills where maybe an elder would take a young person and live with this person while they were living a way of life. This young person was being taught. I have heard by an elder, he tells of the rock where they teach. It wouldn't be in the literal sense of teaching, but it would be a place where the child would observe his elder and the many things he could ask of the signs on the rock, and in turn be told by the elder. These people might have been people that lived along the water, and their source of life came from the water during the summer months. This elder might have said, I will paint this for you to come back to, if in the event you forget. You come to this rock, and you look at my painting, and I am telling you in words, and after I am gone, you will see the painting. It might relate back to you something that you might have forgotten in what I taught you.
Near the Peterborough petroglyphs, we also find serpent mounds. Perhaps like the Snake clan of the Hopis, these people wanted to write their history, but found no cliffs on which to write their pictures. So they left their mark in the shape of a great mound of earth resembling a serpent. Included in the design is some indication of the direction the tribe moved and why. The Hopis settled in the desert because they felt only a harsh environment would always keep you in tune with the Creator. Could this have been why certain tribes braved the Canadian winters? There are a million different ways to be human and to set up a society. Even 15 miles outside of Toronto, in Bronte Creek Provincial Park, we have unearthed evidence of a lifestyle 4,000 years old. It seems the places we set aside for parks are also the places the Indians like to camp. Archaeology is a study not only of these cultures, but also of the collectivity of people, individuals who had dreams and desires, who walked in shadows and in sunlight, who argued with children, and walked in nature.